Hi everyone, welcome. Right, in this video, I'm going to take you through a practical demonstration on the basis of what we call AWS VPC. So this is more hands-on demonstration. And what I would say is if you are new to AWS or cloud networking, understanding VPC, okay, in the production level is highly critical, even in your own learning. So in this video, I'm going to break it down step by step with hands-on demonstration. You'll be able to follow this, be able to develop your VPC, understanding the network. If something fail, you'll be able to, fix it going forward. Okay. So VPC is what we call virtual private cloud. So it's basically it's like a separate network, but these things run in what we call a shared infrastructure. Okay, AWS manage this. So you access what we call a virtual network over the internet. What do I mean by that? What is it actually? This is what we call your own isolated kind of data center where you decide, okay, what resources can talk to what resources, who should have access to what resources. Basically, your network, you control the network. Is in a layman's term, is the networking bit of AWS. So you choose your own private network and you decide what goes in, what comes out. I always think of it as like a block of flat. Okay, maybe 4 stories, 5 stories, and you have decided to, you know, purchase or, have a particular flat or a particular block to yourself. So one floor has been dedicated to you. That particular floor will have rooms, will have various things that goes along with it. So the rooms, I presume, I take it as the subnet. Okay, and you have your doors are the security groups, and then the network ACLs. This is what I presume. But why do we even need VPC? So this is for your secure infrastructure. You want to secure your infrastructure and your system. You want to control the traffic coming in and out. You don't want to be in a public zone all the time. This is dedicated to you. And this will also help you to meet compliance and have a bit of isolation. We have been provisioning resources within our AWS. These resources were already in what we call default VPC. So default VPC is basically open to everyone. All resources can talk to any resources. So the connectivity is quite loose. So going forward, we are getting more mature. Therefore, we need to control our connectivity within our AWS account. Hence, the VPC custom that we are going to provision. Okay. So right. Let me quickly go to my console and then let's get cracking. Let me share my screen and then I'll show you. But before I go on, let me quickly go to the next slide, tell you what we're going to do. So we're going to create what we call VPC. Okay, we're going to have what we call a CIDR range for the VPC. So the CIDR range is basically how we determine how many IP address we can assign to our devices or our resources within our network. We will create what we call um, 4 subnets. So two public, okay, and then two private, okay. Once we're done, we will create internet gateway, okay. This internet gateway we will attach it to our VPC. Once we also done, we will do what we call our routing. So we will route all the traffic coming from the public subnet to what we call a route table, a public route table, and then we'll connect the public route table to the internet gateway. Okay, this is allow traffic to come in. We'll decide, okay, if you don't want anything to be connected from outside, you decide not to, you know bring internet gateway. It's your own network anyway. But if you want traffic to come in and out in your public, you attach internet gateway. Right. Our databases and other services, we want to put them in a private subnet. Okay. For them to be connected to the outside world without outside traffic coming in, we're going to leverage on what we call NAT gateway. We will deploy the NAT gateway into the public subnet. Okay. And what we're going to do is we create the route table again for the private subnet and associate the resources or the the public subnet, sorry, the private subnet to the NAT gateway. So the traffic resources within the private subnet, can send traffic out to the internet, but no traffic from the internet can come to the NAT gateway. Okay, this is what we're going to do, but I'll also explain the basic component within the VPC as we go along. Okay, so let me quickly go to my AWS console, and then we're going to create what we call VPC. So this is the default VPC I told you about. You see, it's open, it has so many subnets also attached, route table. So the connectivity is already set for the default. We want to customize our own. Okay, we want to take charge. Okay, sorry, we need VPC, not internet gate. So VPC, we create VPC. Okay, and what we're going to do, we got VPC only and VPC and more. This is easier to create. It tells you all the connectivity, but because we are learning, we want to break this down from the basic level, build it from ground up. We will create our own VPC only. We're gonna give it a name. Okay, so let's give it a name like, let's say, simply done. Okay, VPC or something. Okay, that should be fine. Right, IP version 4, this is what we're going to leverage on. Again, I've done a separate video explaining IP version 4 and IP version 6. Okay, what we need to do, because we are choosing IP version 4, you see our CIDR range, we have 4 what we called decimals. Okay, so these are binary octet, so 4 decimal notation. So we're going to choose our IP public, our private IP. So this is one of the private IP. The private IP can be 10.0.0.0 or the 172.30.0.0, 192. These are the what we call the private. So this is our own private. We choose one, and then we're gonna slice them into subnet. Okay, so let's create one. Say 10.0.0. Okay, dot 0. Okay, so as you can see, this is IP version 4. Why? Okay, this is decimal notation, so we have 4, 1 2 3 4. But because we are doing CIDR, okay, classless interdomain routing, so we are doing this so we can have IP range for our resources within our network. So this is a single IP. We want to break it down. Okay. Therefore, we bring the CIDR notation, which is forward slash. Okay. And then the range. So for now, because this is our VPC, we have a bigger network. Okay. So let's go for 16. Why am I choosing 16? Okay, this is the minimum AWS. Will allow you to choose. Okay, we can go for 8, we can go for, you know, lower ones, by AWS allow us to choose 16, which is the basic one. But with this range, how many IP address can you obtain from this? So there is sites here that I can show you. Okay, this one. So let me just change this. So this is the same IP. So 10.0.0.0.0. This is the IP version 4, as you can see. If I do the CIDR, which is 16, okay, can you see the number of IPs I'm getting? Okay, 65,536. Okay, the first two are masked by that distance are blocked. No IP address can be taken from this range. So we only got these two places for our host network. Okay, so /16, that is why we end up having this 65,000. Why is it so? Because the first two have been masked. The reason why we're saying is IP version 4 is 32-bit. So the 32, if you half it, you get 16. So basically half of the 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of them, the first two has been taken, is complete. That's why we have 255. The rest is what we have. Okay, so /16 is half of it. If I do /24, for example, so means you see the first 3 has been taken we only got with this one, and we have lesser IP to use. Okay, so for example, if you have a single IP, which is, let's say, /32, you only got one. So this is a full IP. In other words, this is what we call the CIDR notation. Okay, so we are picking 16, so we can have at least this number of IPs. Okay, which is quite huge. I'll do a separate video and explain this CIDR range going forward. Yeah, so let's go back to where we are. So 16, we are happy with it. Okay, the next one, okay, we are not using IP version 6. Default tenancy. So if you choose default tenancy, that means any EC2 or compute that you provision, the underlying infrastructure is shared, and this is more cheaper. If you want to have a whole dedicated infrastructure to yourself, you pay more, it's more costly. So for now, let's pick default. Okay, and apart from that, that's it. It's easy to create VPC. Okay, so VPC done. Okay, VPC is created. Now, like I said, we're going to break it down and have subnet. So VPC is created, okay, in our account, okay, in a region. We creating what we call subnet. So two public, two private. Okay, so we can come back here and do private. Okay, create private. Here our VPC. Okay, we're creating it out from our VPC. Simply done. Okay, this is the CIDR range, our name for our first subnet, so we can call it public sub1. Okay, sub1, that's fine. We can place this in the availability zone. Okay, first availability zone, make it more redundant. This is the IP, so we want a session of this IP. Okay, remember this gave us a bigger range, so if you want to have a session of it, you have a lesser range, don't you? Okay, this is a bigger range, you want a portion of it. Therefore, watch this. So we'll say 10.0. Yeah, so the next one I'll put, let's say, .1. Okay, and then .0, and then /24. Okay, why am I saying this? Remember the first one, I said this first two has been masked. If you are taking a subnet, you cannot go back and take a portion of it because it's already been taken by the VPC at the higher level. If you want a session of it, you move to the next one. So we will also take as a subnet, we also cover the third one. Okay, therefore, if you come back to our interactive here, so this is the previous one. If I put 24 here, okay, this is the notation, and then one was 1. Let's put 1 here. This is the number of IP we get. But why are we putting 24? Because like I said, the first one we had, the VPC took this bit. So if you want a section of it, okay, we will take the next one, okay, leaving only the number of IP here, which is this one. Okay, therefore, this has been masked, this has been masked, and our private subnet also is taking this one. Okay, the subnet we are creating is taking this one. Okay, that's why we have 24. So this is complete, this is complete, this is complete, and we have the last 8. These are all binary octets. Yeah, okay, so let's go back to where we are. So that is done, so we can create another one, add subnet. Okay, another subnet, let's say pub sub, let's say 2. Yeah, public subnet 2. Let's place it into availability zone 2. Okay, the same VPC, and then let's give our CIDR, so 10.0. So this one, let's go 2.0. Okay, / and then we are doing 24 again. Okay, so the only thing that is changing is these two. So we are in the same VPC range, but we are only changing this to have a subnet. So that one was 1, this one is 2. Okay, So that is fine. That will be PC. Let's do a quick check. Yeah, we're happy with it. And what we need to do is to create VPC. Sorry, create our subnet, which is our public subnet. Right, let's have a look. So 10.0, yeah, we're missing a dot here. .1, let's create that. We see 10, oh right, I think I'm missing something here. There's a dot at the beginning. Correct that. And just create. So two public subnet created. So let's create another two. So we are using the same VPC. So we'll say this is private. So sub private sub 1. Okay. Put it into availability zone 1. The same VPC. And then our CIDR range for that 10.0.0. Sorry, let's do the free .0 / we're gonna go for 24 again, the same within the same VPC. We are only masking this, so only free available is that one, the last for the host. Okay, so the next one is create another one. So two private subnet. So private sub 2. Okay, put it into availability zone 2, and then we're gonna give our CIDR. So 10.0.0, sorry, .4.0 / 24 again. So we got 4, we got 3. Okay, private sub 1, private sub 2, availability zone 1, 2. That's fine. So we happy with this, then they create the subnet. Okay, so two private subnet, two public subnet created. Okay, let's refresh that. Let me show you. So subnet, okay, two public, two private. Right, now we finish with this two. We are going to create route table. Okay, so public subnet, two of them, private subnet, two of them be created. The next one is the route table. So we are going to route the traffic. What is the route? So the way you connecting your subnet, so you can receive and send traffic in and out of your subnet. Okay, so this is what we're going to do, basically setting the connection up. So if you go to route table, create route, can you see a route table specify how packets are forwarded between the subnet within your VPC. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're creating public route table. Yeah, and then we select our route table. Okay, job is a good thing. Create that. Okay, right. You see this? So this is saying that all the communication is internal within the VPC. All the communication are happening locally. Yeah, because we are within our network, okay, within the VPC. Okay, so that is the um, public route table created. Let's create another one for private route table. So we'll say private route table, private route table. Yeah, and we select our VPC. Okay, again, create route table. Right. So what we need to do after creating the route table, we're going to do the association, the subnet association. We are going to associate our subnet. You see, public subnet, public subnet. We are going to associate them to the route table. Okay, so they are all connected to the route table. Public subnet, route table, private subnet to the private route table. So let's go back to where we are. This is the private subnet. So let's do the association. So you do subnet association. This is the private one, so we select private 1, okay, and 2, and what we do is associate. Okay, that's this two done. What we do the next one for the public subnet. Okay, so subnet association, edit subnet association, public 1, public 2 associate. Happy days. Okay, so as you can see here, we are cooking on the gas now. Now what is next? Right, so what we need to do, so we associate them, so they are all, this side is done. So can you see we need to do NAT association for the route from the private subnet. Okay, and also we will do subnet association, not subnet association, internet gateway association to the VPC. Internet gateway is attached to the VPC. Okay, on all the connection within the public route table will be sent to the internet gateway, or connections within the private subnet, okay, will be sent to the NAT gateway, but no traffic can come out from the internet to the NAT gateway. It is a one-way traffic from the private subnet. Okay, so let's go back to where we are here and create what are we doing now? Right, okay, so we need to create the internet gateway and associate it to the VPC. So create internet gateway, and then let's say, okay, let's call it sample internet gateway. Yeah, and then all we need to do is to create. Easy peasy. Right, the next one is to attach the VPC to the VPC. Sorry, the internet gateway to the VPC. It's calling for it, as you can see here. Right, so once you do it, select attach, and then you select your VPC, the one we created. Happy days, attach. Okay, so now the internet gateway has been attached to the VPC. Right, so what we can do is when we go to the route table, okay, here for the public subnet, let's go back in here. Now we can edit the route. What do we mean? We can be able to send connection in and out of our VPC. If you want, the public to come inside your VPC into your public subnet, okay, you come through the internet gateway. So let's do the association. Let's do the route. So the connection is local here, as I've explained. Any other connection, any or other connection can go through the internet gateway. Which internet gateway? The one we provision. You select that, okay, and then you save. Okay, so the public subnet with the internet gateway is been routing through that. So what we need to do is to do the other one, which by that I mean, like I said, we need to create a NAT gateway, associate the private route table to the NAT gateway. Okay, for now we don't have NAT, so we can create NAT gateway. Create NAT gateway. What we need to do, let's call it, okay, sample NAT gateway. That will do. Okay, so let's pick this. This is quite new, actually. Yeah, right. So we pick regional one. If you want the zonal one, you can pinpoint which subnet you want to provision the NAT gateway into. Bear in mind, NAT gateway are provisioned into public subnet. Okay, so bear in mind, if you want to choose the zonal ones, you need to select the subnet. Remember, you need to pick your public subnet. If you pick private, your database or whatever you put in the private subnet will not be able to connect to the internet. Okay, but let's pick the original ones, and automatically you will be set to the public. We will select our VPC. Okay, can't even pronounce that. So VPC selected, and what we need to do, we are going to allow AWS to give us elastic IP and associate it to the NAT gateway. Remember, it's gonna be in the public subnet. Yeah, happy days. The next one is to create. So this will take, let's see, few minutes to. It won't take that long, but whilst it's going on, okay, what we can do is to go back to the route here. We've done only the association, so that's fine. So let's wait for these things to finish, and then probably we will go through, and then yeah, we'll take it from there. Yeah, welcome back. So the NAT gateway is available now. So let's go back to the association and then actually do the routing. So back to the route table. Remember, we need a private route table. Yeah. All we need to do is to do the edit, and then what we need to do, allowed or add route. Okay, remember this is the internal communication. All resources within this, VPC can communicate to each other, which is local. Yeah. So what we need to do is any other outside of this VPC range. Okay. So any other can connect to the NAT gateway. Which NAT gateway? The one we provision. So we select that. Okay. Provision. Done. Okay, bear in mind that is the traffic here. This is the one. All routing will go to the NAT gateway. Okay, all right. And remember, this is provision. The NAT gateway is provisioned into the public subnet. Okay, so go back to where we are. Right. So in a nutshell, that is it. Let's do a quick recap. So we created our VPC. Okay, and then we created our slice of it, which is a portion of it, which is the subnet. Okay, so this subnet are private and public. You distribute your traffic among them. You put your resources, whichever one needs to be in public, put them in there, and you do your routing. You create route table and do what we call route table association. You associate the subnet to the route table and you do the routing. Okay, you created internet gateway, attach it to the VPC. We also created NAT gateway and place it into a public subnet so we can have connection from our private subnet into the rest of the world. Okay, but no other services or connection can come in. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is it. The next video, which is also very important, we are going to add resource, okay, to the VPC. So we're going to establish what we're going to create RDS, put it into the public private subnet, create a bastion host, and connect to the RDS. We have a secure connection. You do not want to have your RDS in public and connecting them in public. So our next video is more of putting resources into our VPC and establish connectivity between them. We're going to use PG admin to connect to our database and see how things goes on. So watch out for the next video. So at the end of it, okay, I hope you learn something out of it. See you in our next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.